What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another F124 video. Today we're in Albert Park, the Australian Grand Prix, for another challenge. If you're new around here, think about subscribing. If you're going to like the video, hit that like button as well, and let me know in the comments what are the challenges you want me to try. But today, 5.2 kilometer track, 4 DRS zones and 14 turns. We've got a 25% race, I think it's 15 laps, and we're going to do 10 different tyres. So every tyre, twice. All the lights are on. Now they're out as we go racing in Albert Park. We're starting on the soft tyre. Remember, we've got 9 more after this. The rule is we've got to start from the back, so we're going to let everybody go and then do a massive lunge into turn 1 down the inside of about... well, only a handful of cars, 5 cars, something like that. 4 cars make that. Ooh, it's a little bit of a wiggle there from Albon on exit. Nearly squeezes onto the grass, and then another huge dive bomb down into, I think this is turn 3. And now we've got the Mercedes team of Hamilton and Russell going side by side very slowly just in front of us as we're going to take advantage and go around the outside of Hamilton. Just like that on the soft. It is raining ever so slightly, but it's still dry conditions for us as we have a look of the inside of Sonoda, but nothing doing there. Now going back to the rule, as we go around the outside of the Visa Cash App RB car, we have to be in first before we pit and change our tyres. So we've got to get all the way to the front of the pack as we almost run into the back of Sergio Perez into the very high speed chicane, which on 0% AI is actually a very sort of medium speed, low speed chicane. But yeah, we have to be at the front. We have to overtake the entire grid before we're allowed to box and put on our other set of tyres. At the moment we're on the softs. We're going to go to the mediums, then the hards, then the inters, then the wets, and kind of go back down again. And yes, we are just not quite making it on the first lap actually to get into first, as we have a little bit of oversteer mid-corner and almost on exit as well. But yeah, we only have 15 laps essentially to get to the front of the field, as we have done now, and then we're allowed to box onto the next set of tyres. So at the end of this lap, we're going to go onto the mediums, which is potentially going to help us again, because it's still technically dry conditions. It's not wet enough for it to be wet or inters at all. But that's also going to hold us back when we get onto the inters and the wets. So we're going to see how this goes. We're already pulling 4 seconds to Charles Leclerc, which is insane. We're going to be setting fastest laps almost every single lap in this race. But moving on towards the end of lap 2, 6.5 seconds the gap, almost 7 seconds to P2. We're going to box onto mediums. We're probably going to end up somewhere near the middle, if not towards the back of this pack. Not sure what the pit loss is around Albert Park, but it's enough that this is going to be a tight challenge. It's not going to be quite as, you know, easy almost as the last challenge we did in last week's video, but pulling into the pits, nice and easy. We don't want to get any kind of penalty at all, because that will completely ruin our race. Now in the top right, you can see we're now on tyre 2, which is the medium, or med, and our history is the soft. So that's going to keep adjusting every time we make a pit stop, and all we have to do is we're now in 13. Can we make it almost down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo? He was definitely turning in there without a second thought. But now in 13th position. Again, we have to get to the front of the field before we're allowed to pit again, as we make a nice double dive bomb, even making it back to the Mercedes teammates of Hamilton and Russell in pretty much the same place as we did last lap, although we're sort of, you know, a car behind, if that makes sense. And now we're just going to look to the outside. Hamilton's going to brake late, as we're going to go down the inside as well of Daniel Ricciardo. Not Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, but Perez was making a hell of a mistake there and just, yeah, almost turned back into us. Thankfully no wing damage, because again, that would completely ruin our chances of succeeding in beating this little challenge I set for myself after trying a few different things for an hour and a half during recording. But a very nice overtake there on Max Verstappen, again in the slow speed chicane. It's not really slow speed, but you get what I mean. And around the outside of Alonso, just rolling the car through that corner nicely for us. And we're going to do the same thing to Sainz. Go a little bit wide as we have a bit of a moment mid-corner and banging wheels with the Spaniard in the Ferrari. And now it's just the McLaren duo of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri before we get up to the front. Now, we're now on lap 4, so we've burnt a couple of laps easily on these mediums, and that's not going to really make it any easier. Thankfully, the pack is starting to spread out, so we might not have to do as many overtakes to get back to the front of the field when we switch over to the next tyre, which is going to be the hard tyre. So again, we're going to be sort of getting slower as this race goes on, because the softs, they provide you with the most grip, especially in these conditions, which the FIA is deeming as dry conditions at the moment. So again, reaching the end of lap 4, we now have, again, about 7 seconds in hand for this pit stop, as we're getting all over the grass there, which isn't going to help us very much in this race. Now, it is kind of wet, it is kind of dry, it's sort of greasy, so it's not max grip on the dries, it's also not max grip on the wets or inters either. It's sort of a mix in between, which I think, kind of thinking back to when I did this, it was on dynamic weather and I thought, oh, this is going to make it harder, but I think it being in this weird sort of middle ground between not dry, not wet, it actually helps us in the end, because we have kind of like a balanced speed and pace over all of the tyre compound. And we've actually come out in between the Mercedes team, which is a decent stop there. We're now on the hard. Again, we're not going to have as good grip as these guys potentially, but they're 0% AI. We're not banking on grip here as we actually make contact with Yuki Tsunoda in P8 as we're trying to look for a way past, but he's just not letting us through at all. So we're going to go round the outside again and try and get the traction. Easily done. Bit of ERS and down the inside of Perez as well, just to show him where he's going to be on the 2025 grid, and that is not in front of us. But now, a couple of seconds gap to Verstappen. I think we're pretty much going to claim that back in this next chicane now that we can actually sort of go full pace around it, just because we're not going to be side by side with any cars around us. Now, we still have DRS in play as well, and you'll notice we kind of catch up very quickly to these cars to the point where we're making overtakes without DRS when we potentially should have had DRS. There's a huge slide there through that sort of slower right-hander before the end of the lap, and yeah, it was a very brave dive bomb on Fernando Alonso that we kind of just witnessed. And again, the back end stepping out, just showing you how much we're trying to maximize every traction zone against this AI, just purely because, yeah, we can make up time through the corners, but also through traction. If we sit behind them and wait for a dive bomb at the next corner, we're not going to be making as many overtakes as we go round the outside of Piastri and down the inside on Leclerc. Just showing you how early they break at this AI difficulty. If you guys really want to try these things out for yourself, please do. It's so much fun. I can't emphasize this enough. When you're just diving and weaving in and out between other cars, you just feel like an absolute beast, when I'm really not a beast at this game. I would love to be, and I think I'm getting better all the time, but I'm definitely not up there. Now, again, end of lap 6, we're boxing from the hards. Now we're going to go on to the intermediate tyres, which again, we're not going to have all of the grip in the world because it's not quite intermediate conditions. We still have DRS activated. So, we're on the inters. We've been on the softs, the mediums and the hards. This is our 4th tyre, and we are pretty much halfway through the race. It's going to be close as to whether or not we're going to actually be able to make all the pit stops we need to before the end of the race. Now, thankfully, we've come out ahead of Tsunoda and Perez this time, so there's only a handful of cars ahead of us. One of those is Max Verstappen, who we're just going to dispatch of immediately, and Fernando Alonso will give him the same treatment. Get behind us, son. Carlos Sainz, you're not even there. We'll see you in a bit. And now we're on to the back of the top 3. So it looks like actually here at this moment we're actually going to be able to make a pit stop directly after we've made our previous pit stop, which is huge for us. You can just see, again, the amount they're braking and just around the outside of Charles Leclerc in the sort of very, very fast chicane for us, and the not so quick, kind of slow postman style chicane for everybody else. And that's actually a huge advantage we've just got, because we can box this lap, stick on the wet tyres, and then we don't have as much of a gap as Yuki Tsunoda retires from the session. I'm not quite sure why, but he did. It's not like we're going to really have to overtake all 19 drivers that are in the race, or all 18 drivers that were against in the race again, because we're going to end up coming out, you know, at least P10 or closer to the front. I don't think we're going to end up anywhere close to the back at this point in time. So we're on the wets now. Again, P6. There are pit stops happening behind us, and I believe the AI are going to go on hards as we go massively deep, actually, into the turn 1, and we actually lose a place to Daniel Ricciardo and almost to Valtteri Bottas as well, just on account of us going a bit deep into that corner. But again, no stress. We can just ease off the brakes, roll the car through the corner, get around the outside, be given some space, and we're all good. It's all gravy once again. George Russell up ahead of us now. Can we sneak through here? Not quite. I don't want to end up in the wall. We remember what happened with Lance Stroll during, I think it was practice. I might be wrong on that, where he collided with the Williams, I think, of Logan Sargent. I'm not entirely sure how good my memory is there, but nice and easily dispatched George Russell. We're not going to get a pit stop in this lap, but we will do next lap. That's lap 9, and we've done 1 pit stop on all the tyres so far. Now, my plan is, we've sort of gone soft, medium, hard, inters, wet. We're now going to go like inters, hard, medium, and then I think we're going to go wet and then soft, just to end the race on the soft. Don't ask me why. That's just kind of how I felt at the time. But now we're in P1, we're actually going to have a clear track ahead of us for this entire lap to potentially make up an entire pit stop on this tyre, so that when we pit at the end of this lap now, we're going to be able to kind of just jump back into the pit straight away again. And we have to do this. We have to make up as much time as possible so that we can do these pit stops back to back and not have to fight through any traffic or, you know, miss out on the pit lane entry because we're not in P1. If we don't do that, we're just, forfeiting this challenge, essentially. It's just not going to happen for us. So, here we go. Pitting from the wets to the inters. You can see in the top right and sort of mid-right tyre we're on and the history. Nice and easy to kind of follow along with where we are. And you can let me know in the comments what your predictions are for the results of this race. How many tyres we actually get through and what position we finish in. But right now it's looking pretty good. Again, we have a clear track ahead of us for this lap and 9 seconds in pocket as we get into the sort of more twisty bit of Sector 1. Now, none of the tyres felt particularly great. The inters and the wets felt like there was just, you know, grip there in some points, but not really. They couldn't handle the stress and the forces that I was trying to put through them. But the dries also felt like the track was a little bit greasy. It just wasn't the best the best time, but it felt amazing racing against the 0% AI because you just, yeah, as I've said before, you feel like a beast, but also you feel like you're always on, like, I don't know, 15 lap fresher tyres that are the softer compound. It's, yeah, it's next level. But again, we're going to be able to hop into the pits and box onto another set, which is going to be the hards this time.
Right, let's have you in at the end of this lap.
I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do it directly next lap, but we will see in a second where we come out, relevant to Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri. I did skip that lap, but obviously at the end of lap 11, we did actually get our lap in to pit from the inters straight to the hards, and then straight from the hards to the mediums, but now that's dumped us back out in P4. We still have the wets and the softs to hit after this. We're on lap 12 of 15. There is 3 laps to go, including this one. No, 4 laps to go, including this one, I think. 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 4. So we should be able to make it onto the wets at the end of this lap. So that gives us essentially lap 14 and 15 on the softs, if we can make it to the front. Now, obviously, at this point, we're losing time relative to the AI, purely because we are, yeah, boxing so much. Now we're probably going to come out behind the train of, I think it's an Aston Martin. I think it's Alonso, Sainz, and Verstappen, potentially, back there in the pack that is sort of close behind us as we have a massive snap during that high-speed chicane, and that was not a fun experience. We just got to keep it on the island, keep it going, keep the pace up, and make sure we are, yeah, doing everything in our power to just beat this AI. It's easy, but when you add it into these challenges of pitting 9 times, essentially, to use all 10, well, to use all 5 tyre compounds twice, it still gets a bit squeaky bum time. So changing onto the wets this time. After this, we only have to hit the softs. But we're actually behind both the Mercedes cars. So we're in P9 right now. We have to get to the front. And as we almost lose a wing on Hamilton there, very close. Hamilton just turned into the corner, not expecting us to be there as we leave the pits. But we have to make up 7 places. We have to get past 7 people and make a pit stop before the end of the race onto softs. We can't box on lap 15 either. We can't box on the final lap. So we literally have this lap to get ahead, and then we have a lap to box. So it's very, very squeaky bum time. As you can see, when we try and apply the throttle, we're just spinning up the back, the rear wheels is not ideal in these conditions on these tyres. But we're going to go for it anyway, potentially around the outside here of Verstappen. Maybe not here, but here in the second part of the chicane, absolutely. Under traction, we're going to get Carlos Sainz. Fernando Alonso is kind of boxing us in behind the Ferrari. He's going defensive. We have to just kind of back out of it just to save our front wing and to save our race here. We're going to squeeze the Spaniard out on exit. Around the outside of the Aston Martin? No, we're just going to duck underneath and almost, again, make huge contact with the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. Now, we're in P4. We have to box onto softs at the end of this lap to be able to claim victory with this challenge. Now, we should be able to do it. We've got a lap before we box again, and only 3 cars ahead as we go for another double dive bomb down the inside of Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc. It's going to be very nice and easy for us. I'm going to try and talk you through a lap here as we are trying to put the pace into these wet tyres. And coming towards the end, we're trying to save a bit of battery as well. I would love to get another fastest lap, but also we might need the battery just to make it through the pack, because we are only 6 seconds ahead of P2. We have to make another pit stop, which I don't know how much time we are going to lose here, but it's certainly not 6 seconds. It's a lot longer than that. We might have to make up 12 seconds on this last lap, but we are going to find out in a few seconds time here as we reach our pit box, get the pit crew to work out their arms again for the 9th time in this race. We're going to leave the pit lane very shortly. We're going to come out probably around the Mercedes of George Russell, potentially. Is he going to just turn in on us? Are we going to dive bomb again? No, we're not, because Russell was straight there. We would have absolutely lost the tyre if we'd have committed to that corner. It's the final lap of the race. We're in P8. Make that P7. We're right on the back now of Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz. Alonso has gotten away a little bit from the Ferrari. And can we sneak around the outside of Verstappen? Maybe duck underneath Carlos Sainz, or we're going to commit to the outside. We're going to commit to the outside. Gain massively on Alonso. Again, to the outside. Potentially, we're going to have DRS for this straight, which is going to be a massive help. There's a 3-second gap to the leaders, and we're going to have one sector to overtake 3 cars in almost 3 corners as well. So we're going to have a double dose of DRS here to get us onto the back of the McLaren duo that are just up ahead. We're going to have a massive dive bomb, are we? Yes, we are. Down the inside of Lando Norris. 2 more corners, a massive oversteer moment around the outside of Oscar Piastri as now we reach the penultimate corner of the race. Charles Leclerc parking the bus. We're going to go around the outside of the final corner of the Australian Grand Prix, open up the DRS, use the rest of our battery, give the team a little wiggle, and we're through.
That's what we're talking about.
P1, 10 tyres used, 9 pit stops. I have no idea how many overtakes we made, but we got it done.
Here's the checkered flag, and here's our winner. C'est magnifique. It's Pierre Gasly.
Indeed, c'est magnifique.
It's not every day that we get to see such incredible wheel-to-wheel racing. Next time, they might consider making it easier for themselves, but today, we absolutely loved all the action that we got to see out there.
And I loved doing it. Let me guys know in the comments what I should do next.
Once again, it's podium time, and once again, it's a clear win for Alpine. The team have seen their fair share of success in Formula One, and today is proof that they've still got what it takes to thrill us all. Congratulations to everyone at Alpine.
Indeed. What a showing, and even what a showing for the end of the 2024 season by Alpine and Pierre Gasly. It's a great result for us, and a great result for you guys. If you want to stay tuned with every video, you can hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time a new video drops. And that includes Season 2 of my team that will be coming very soon. And once again, there's another hint in this video.
It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Indeed, what's next is probably going to be another challenge video. I think with me, you know, having to sort things out, holidays, New Year, all that good stuff, we might have to take a week break just to get everything sorted and settled down. But we can do another challenge. As you can see all the pit stops on the screen right now. This one was very fun indeed. I'm thinking about doing some ranked gameplay as now I've been able to remove the previous livery mod from Season 1 of my team. If you haven't watched Season 1 of my team, go watch it. I think it's a great start to our kind of my team career mode. We're going to do a Season 2 very soon as well, probably just after Christmas and New Year. And yeah, we'll have to introduce you to the new teammate. And as I was saying before, there's a hint in this video as to who our teammate is going to be. Any speculation, let me know in the comments below. But if you guys did enjoy, leave that like. The highlights are here for you now. But I will see you all next week, potentially. I'm going to say it just in case I do post next week. But I might see you next week for another F1 24 video. But until then, enjoy these highlights, and I'll see you soon.